So if you want to understand what's going on the conservative side of things, particularly on the identity politics front, I think the following might be helpful. So starting off, there are multiple moral foundations upon which we can build something like anti-racism, anti-bigotry. And the first one is the ancient concept of hospitality. And these are long-standing norms that govern how the stranger, and by extension, the other, is treated. Another is old ideas about honor and nobility, which generally say that the mistreatment of people that are different and the bullying of, say, the disadvantaged are dishonorable and even shameful. And most conservatives agree with this and actually try to live by these kind of concepts. We also have like the golden rule, Christian charity, and a related concept about universal human fallibility. And all of these can buttress a social order where different groups can coexist with relatively minimal trouble. And finally, over the last century, there have been legal innovations and civic institutions that have developed to reinforce these values and to address where they have failed. And most conservatives would agree that these were necessary and legitimate efforts. So what is the conservatives rejecting around racism, et cetera? I think what they're rejecting is the widespread denial that any of the things I just described have any value or power. I think that they're rejecting the expansion of some of these notions, the expansion of charity and hospitality into an absolute right for any group to enter Western countries at any pace and at any scale, and then being permitted to form segregated communities that aren't expected to offer anything to the larger body politic. And finally, what they're rejecting is a just so definition of racism that ignores everything else I just discussed and cherry picks historical wrongdoing that does not differ qualitatively from anything that any powerful group has ever done before. And yet they cherry pick and from that develop these concepts of white supremacy and colonialism. And then they restrict the discourse around these topics simply to these two concepts and reject any other offerings that could help like these difficult questions about how hundreds of millions of people are supposed to inhabit the same geopolitical and cultural and social space. And so if we want to be right, we can ignore what the right is rejecting and what they believe in. But if we actually care about these moral questions, we would consider their thinking very, very seriously, because the only alternative is war.